Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Cage Talk. My name, Mr. Titan, aka Alex, and today we have a special guest. Today we have the UFC fighter, veteran, legend. We have Gray, the Bully Maynard. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good, man. Glad to be on.
Yeah. How's everything? How's life? How's being quarantined and isolated? All that good stuff. Whatever is happening.
Yeah, we're actually we're on vacation in up in Michigan right now
Okay.
with my sister and her kids, and I got two kids as well. So we've been going up to the lake, and there's a big property out here, and we just hang out for a little bit.
Nice.
Couple weeks.
That seems like the thing to do. I live in Texas, and
Okay.
a couple of friends of mine actually went to Michigan again. They rented out a lake house and stuff, and they just hung out. I mean, it's the best time to be if you're outdoorsy and stuff. It's the best time to. I mean, it's the best time to do it, right?
Yeah, 100%. That's why we're here. Love being outdoors.
Definitely. Again, you're a UFC veteran. I mean, I think everyone remembers just the trilogy between you and Frankie Edgar. I mean, that was a battle. I mean, all those fights were awesome. I mean, I loved watching all those fights. Loved watching your style. I mean, from you coming in from Ultimate Fighter on the show. Was that?
Yeah.
I think it was season 5.
Yep.
Season 5, and you were on BJ Penn's team, correct?
Yeah.
So that's cool. And again, we'll talk about your career now in just a second. But again, I just want to say thank you for coming on, man. It's
no problem, man.
It's a blessing, and I appreciate you.
It's cool. I'm glad you're doing this.
Yeah, man. So you started off, you completed, you were wrestling. That was your background, right? Your background in Michigan,
Yep.
Michigan State, right?
Michigan State. Yep.
Yep.
Went there. I was a 3-time All-American.
Yes, sir.
A couple times state champ in Nevada and Ohio.
Yep.
And so, yeah, just kept the competition going like right after college, and it worked out.
Definitely.
Well.
And you debuted, I think your first UFC debut was in 2007, correct?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. Yeah, it was a while ago.
No, it's all right,
2007 sounds good.
Yeah, and who'd you debut against?
Well, I was on the TV show. It was about 2007, and then on the TV show I fought Wayne Weems, Brandon Melendez, and then Diaz. And then after the show, I fought Rob Emerson in the first finale.
Yeah, and we'll get to we'll get to a couple of those fights, like the Diaz fights and the Rob Emerson fight, which is one of the ones that are very interesting. When you were on the Ultimate Fighter, were you ever exposed like that? Because I've talked to a couple people that were actually on the Ultimate Fighter, and some people were about it. Some people were like, you know what, it was very fake. They try to, they wanted you to not see like the camera was there. Like, hey, just pretend like the camera's not there and just start, acting up.
Yeah.
And you just seem like a more like to yourself type of guy just by talking right now.
Yeah. So, TV is anything but reality, right? They kind of create it to cause drama. You can't read, you can't watch TV, you can't talk to people, and I mean, that's just human. That's just humans. You put people together, and a little conflict happens. If you have no outlets, and so it's not about putting these guys on a TV show and giving them the best training and giving them the best whatever it is. It's about drama. It's about TV ratings. And, unfortunately, I feel like the UFC has kind of always gone that way. And it's about ratings. And that's money, though. I get it. but we've never been put first as athletes, and as a sport, it's always been entertainment.
Yep, I agree with you. And talking to a lot of fighters, they have the same opinion about, it's more of a show than anything. They don't put the athletes first, and especially like the whole money wise. I don't even remember how the deals are now compared to, back then compared to how the deals are now. The contracts, I meant,
Yeah.
So
yeah, they still try to lock you into long deals and just but there's more competition now. There's a little bit more competition, which gives guys options to get out of contracts and to try to get out of contracts and to have a little bit of hope to get out of a contract and get more money if they aren't getting paid what they want to get paid.
Yeah.
And but still it's tough if you're locked into that contract and you got to go all the way through and you don't want to piss them off. And it's just one of those deals, that everybody loves the sport, but, we need to make it more of a sport, which is, legitimate rankings, paying people to where they're not coming out of pocket, for a camp, because you don't really know who's the best if one guy's getting paid $300,000 and the other guy's getting paid like $20,000.
That's true. I didn't even think about that. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, they match that up all the time, and especially in MMA is you got to be able to spend money on training. You got to be able to not be stressed out before a competition of like, am I going to make my bills because, I might get half my paycheck,
Definitely.
and people just really have no idea how bad it gets, with a lot of these up and comers, and even with me, I fought main event pay-per-views only guaranteed $26,000. Yeah. So.
And then that doesn't come from the cost of, your medical bills after the fight of what happened. I mean, you never know.
They usually take care of that,
Oh, they
but
do?
yeah, they take care of that. Every promotion has to have insurance and but you only have about 30 days to claim an injury. And then we're also talking long-term stuff too. There's a lot of people dealing with long-term injuries that happen because of a competition, because of whatever it is, and those are the medical bills that start adding up, down the road.
Well, definitely.
You look at the NFL, they're all covered, everybody's covered. But MMA, it's just there's not one rule protecting us as fighters, like financially or contractually.
Gotcha.
Not one rule, like they make us go get a physical and blood test, but when it comes to money, nothing. No. Yeah. So
interesting. And
yeah.
I mean, there are some fighters. I know I've talked to Mark Hunt about this, and he was mentioning how Tim Sylvia is doing a GoFundMe because, like you said, the long-term injury. His injury happened when he fought Frank Mir.
Yeah.
I was like 20-some years ago with the armbar, and he's still having surgery. And I think the screws came out of his forearm or something. It's nasty, but again, like you said, like the long-term deal. That it's kind of sad where he was a UFC heavyweight champion, and now he's doing a GoFundMe page because they cover it. So it's
and ultimately it goes back to like Matt Hughes. He got a lot of his bills covered by Dana, but Dana liked him. And now it's just who Dana likes and who he wants to take care of, and it's not like, hey, everybody.
It's not straight around the board. It's
no.
I get you.
And that's why it's just a game, and it's it's who can kiss ass the best, and get the title shot, or who can kiss ass best, and it sucks, man. It really does, and I think it would really help the sport out to be more legitimate if we just got the best guys, to the top, and not the most popular and not the most,
Definitely.
had guys, getting paid and not stressing about, bills and guys and girls, and then like a long-term care.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
100%, man. Again, it's it's funny because my mindset changed when I started doing this podcast, because I've talked to so many fighters already, and they it's almost like it's not repetitive, but it's almost the same song and dance. Like, they've talked about how they were treated unfairly, or just the way the
Yeah.
play was. And it's crazy. And like, you don't,
Yeah.
again, like I said, I don't realize it because I'm just a fan. I just like watching the fights.
Yeah.
But then there's so much shit
Yeah.
that goes underneath that
Dude,
no one
it's
sees,
nuts.
man.
You see all the money just being traded up top, like
Exactly.
by a couple people, and now we have like a big company who's in charge of it, and we got actors and actresses that throw money into it, and they're getting paid big dividends, and all these people are protected by unions and made their money off unions, and made a ton of money off having good contracts and being able to negotiate their contracts, and people just have no idea how ruthless it is. And a lot of people will say, well, then why'd you sign the contract? And I mean, it's just, you can't just turn your back on all that training, all that sweat, all that blood, and that's ultimately where they're coming out on top a lot, is because they know you have a dream, they know you have this time and energy all put into this blood, sweat, and tears all put into this, and they can give you these shitty contracts to just have it in your mind, oh, I'm just going to get through this, and then I'll get another
And I'll
one,
get a better contract.
and then I'll get to and then I'll get through this, and then I'll get another one. Trust me, I've been there before. And it just never happened, really.
Oh man, again.
Connor made most of his money in one boxing fight.
Yep. He did, man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And again, honestly speaking, I don't think he's. I mean, he's all show. I think he's a good fighter. I don't think he's.
Yeah.
I think he's a little bit overhyped, to be honest with you. I don't think he's.
Yeah, he's definitely not the best, but they wanted to see him get to the top, and he did. He beat tough guys, but you look at it, his weakness is
the ground.
All the wrestlers.
Yep.
And he fought two wrestlers, Khabib, where he got beat, and Chad,
where Chad had the game. He had the match, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, but Chad took that on a week's notice,
That's
2 weeks
true.
notice.
That's
you
true.
Look at the wrestling is the hardest game plan, physically hardest game plan to apply to a championship, bout, because it's 5 rounds of your cardio has to be unbelievable to wrestle, and everybody knows this. Any striker will tell you this. Any wrestler will tell you this. Nobody likes wrestling to do the wrestling because it's hard, man. It's tiring, and you have to physically control another person, like as well as your body.
Yep.
And Chad Mendes, I mean, he knew he probably had 1-2 rounds, but he just got paid enough to take it.
Yeah, I mean, perfect example is the Uzman versus Mazda. I mean, Uzman applied his wrestling. That's all he needed to do. Put some pressure, put him on his ass a couple times, and he was good. And he's done that before. Just like I mean, again, sometimes it's not the prettiest. Don't get me wrong, it's not the prettiest style. A lot of people don't like that, but it wins.
But you go it the other way around, where Uzman has to take it on 6 days' notice.
Exactly.
He's got maybe 2 rounds in him. You
Yep.
know, he's a grinder. He's a tough cat. But that's hard to apply that type of pressure and that game plan. And everybody knows that. You
Definitely.
know.
I mean, I've said it
All
before.
the fighters know that, not the
Yeah.
fans.
I mean, of course. Yeah. Like, I think if you have a wrestling if your main background is wrestling and then you learn the rest, the stand-up game, the multi, then you're good.
Yeah.
Because you basically control the fight. That's the best thing.
Yeah.
You know? The guy's peeing off on your head, and you can take him down.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, of course, that's kind of always, you know, debatable, of course. And I'm not trying to jump on a bandwagon like, you know, the wrestlers. But just as far as preparing for a game plan of taking a person down over and over and over, it really is one of the hardest ways to win a fight cardio-wise, physically-wise. It just takes everything out of you, you know, and to be able to prepare and train for that, you know, it's an 8-week, 12-week process.
Yep. A lot of people don't know that unless they've obviously wrestled in high school or had any sorts of wrestling at all, because it's a hell of a thing. Because I remember when I did boxing for 4 years, and then I went into my buddy was jiu-jitsu, and we did wrestling, and that first round I was just drained. It was just so tiring, man. It just takes so much out of you, man. And then to get up and then box and your arms are, oh man, that's the worst. That's the worst idea. That's horrible.
Yeah.
You
know, and then it's like, all right, we want you to take this on a week's notice. And
look at that.
You know, so that's kind of how I feel about Conor. I think he's great. I think he promoted the sport, but he's not the greatest.
No, absolutely
not at all.
No, far from it. I mean, but again, who while you were, you know, starting to come up, who was a person that you kind of idolized, that you like looked up to or wanted to be like, or even, you know, once you started MMA, like who was the one that you're like, okay, you know, this is a person that kind of got me to that point?
Yeah. You know, I was lucky enough to have Couture as my coach and have him in my corners. And, you know, for me, it really wasn't about trying to look up to people. Like, I always kind of looked at people as competition.
Okay.
And just wanting to be better than everybody else. Now, I picked stuff off everybody's game. That was how I looked up to people. It's like, I like that.
Okay.
I want that. You know, and whether it's GSP, whether it's Anderson, whether it's all these people, I appreciate when people do good. And, you know, I tried to take that in and just adjust it to my style and you know, just kind of use it. But as far as like looking up to a person, it was probably only Couture, just because he was there, you know, day in, day out, you know, and I watched him, you know, I kind of watched his work ethic, his personality. He was humble, and you know, it just made me know that like, you know, even if you're that way, you can get to the top.
Yeah, Randy Couture is a class act. I mean, Captain America, man. He's awesome. Yeah. I remember.
He's a great guy.
He is. I met him. It was UFC Fight Night. It was Rashad Evans versus I think his name was Sean Salmon. Was the one where the head kick?
The head kick.
Yeah, I was in the nosebleed, man, and I heard that it sounded like a bitch slap, and I was like, I remember after the fight, we were all leaving and stuff. I was with my dad, and I saw Randy Couture, and I took a picture, and I think he was wearing like a long sleeve shirt, but you could still see his abs through the shirt. I was like so fucking confused. I'm like, how is that possible? Like, he's such a giant man. He's so nice, man. He was super cool.
Here's a quick story about that fight.
What's up? Yeah, go ahead.
Rashad Evans, he was my roommate in college. He was my teammate in college. Sean Salmon was actually, I stayed at his house. So in Ohio, there's the junior national team where each state has a team. and you go out to junior nationals and you compete for a junior national championship. I ended up, and so that year, all the North Ohio guys would stay with the guys down south. So I stayed with Sean. It was my junior year. It was my sophomore or junior year. I can't remember. But, you know, stayed at his house. Great guy. You know, both of those guys are awesome, you know, yeah, so there's a lot of connections between the wrestlers.
So it's the wrestlers,
whether it's when you're
wrestlers
kids,
stay together.
yeah. So I've, you know, like it's crazy. I've known DC for, you know, cadet nationals, even before juniors. You know, we're like teenagers, and you know, I helped coach Henry Cejudo when he was like in 8th grade, and I was just getting out of college. And,
that's crazy, man.
Yeah, it's just everybody kind of. It's a small community, and we all try to take care of each other, and we all cheer for each other, and you know, it's a great sport for a kid to be in.
Yeah, definitely anything. I think if I would ever put my kid in anything, it would probably start off, you know, wrestling. Wrestling's always a good nice little start off.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, that's crazy how everyone's so connected, and like you said, it's almost like wrestlers stay with the wrestlers. I mean, it's not like that, but it kind of is, you know. Seems like it. So you're let's talk about some of your past fights, man, because again, you had some moves, and it was always entertaining to watch you fight, man. So when you fought Nate Diaz, tell me how that was. How was that experience?
Yeah, we fought 3 different times. Once on the TV show. Like, I really think it wasn't really, you know, our best, because we both were on the show. We were used to training, you know, at our home, and it was on the last day. Like, literally, we were the last, you know, fight, and then everybody got off the TV show. And it was, you know, I think we both were just kind of trying to go through the motions and just trying to get off this, you know, TV show, because we both hated it, and we both wanted to get back home and train with the people who we train with. And you know, he caught me in a little guillotine choke, like round 1. You know, I applied a good game plan, and was kind of getting after him a little bit, and then he caught me in a choke. The second time was a main event. I think it was on a Spike card out in Washington, D.C. And, you know, I just really prepared. You know, I really prepared. And with Diaz, it's not really preparing technically. You just have to be careful of, you know, getting caught in chokes and you know, all kinds of jiu-jitsu stuff. But you have to be there mentally. You got to be there to fight, you know, 3 rounds or 5 rounds just mentally, because they're going to be there every second, you know. And, you know, I think I was more prepared to beat him then. And then the third fight was like after my 2 title shots, and then, you know, I beat Clay Guida, and then I lost to TJ Grant, which that was a number 1 contender. And then I fought Diaz, and I had just moved up to California like a couple months before, or like, I think it was like 6 months, and just still trying to figure out training camps, and you know, again, I'm just telling y'all like all of this because you're asking about, you know, Diaz, and it's not excuses, but it's just you know, I had a lot of personal stuff going on. We were like remodeling the house, and you know, this is all stuff people don't know, and like what guys go through, and we're struggling for money because we moved to this place, and remodeling this house and couldn't get it done because of the money, and this is just the type of stress that, a lot of MMA guys and girls go through.
Yep.
And if you look at a sport like a pro sport, people are usually making enough to be comfortable to not have to
worry about stuff like that.
Yeah, to pay for bills for the next 3-4 months. And I just really couldn't train the way I needed to. I was working on my house. I was dealing with contractors. I was doing all of that stuff majority of the day, but then I would take an hour and a half to go train real quick and then hurry up home. And it just got to be, I was prepared as best as I could, for how it was. And just, he caught me on a punch trying to come in. Maybe it was my game plan. Maybe it was, I just got caught. Maybe it was him just being, better. But it was just looking back on it, it's just man, that camp was a mess.
Yeah. I mean, again, a lot of people don't realize, especially when you have stuff going on at home and stuff, and then trying to train for a fight, concentration mentally is usually, it's very hard to stuff. So one of the fights I did want to talk to you about, other than the Frankie Edgar showdown, which I like to, was Rob Emerson. Okay, that one was very interesting, right?
Yeah.
I remember watching that.
Yeah.
And what was your take? Again, I think most of people have seen the fight, but again, and so
okay, here's the backstory on that.
All right, let's hear it, man.
So Joe Stevenson?
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe Stevenson was a good buddy of mine, and he kind of helped me get through. He kind of helped me get going on my MMA career. He was already going when I started coming into a gym, and anyways, he came out the last 2 weeks, maybe the last week, and Joe Stevenson, if you know him, he'll help out anybody. He's like, you call him up, he's like, hey, don't worry, I'm coming out. I don't care what it is. I'm helping you out. Anyways, the last week he had me slamming this, picking up a punching bag and slamming it. In wrestling, you don't really slam people like that. It's more of a takedown, right? You're driving across, on a double, or you're picking them up, and if you do slam him, that's a penalty point in wrestling. So he had me picking up this bag and slamming him, and the whole week, we were just going through a lot of drills, but I remember that was one of the drills that we did almost every
in your
day.
Head.
Yeah, so we're going through this. We're going through this round 1, and then round 2, I threw a combo, got in on a double on the cage, and picked him up. I was like, oh, this is MMA. I can do what I've been doing. And now a human body is a lot different than a punching bag. The punching bag is a lot more round. And so, obviously I miscalculated where my head was going to land and who I was trying to take down. And anyways, I slammed him, and, obviously I was very dazed. And a lot of people will kind of argue with me on this, but just in any loss, I've had a TKO or a KO, I've never really been out, right? You get to the point to where you just can't move. You know what's happening, but you just your body's not working, and people will tell you, well, that's being out. And no, you're I've never woke up where am I?
Yeah,
you just know that
you never got the lights shut out. They're saying.
Yeah. So that's kind of how it was, and I remember get up, he's done, get up. But it just the body wasn't working, and then I tried getting up and kind of stumbled a little bit. So but he ended up breaking his ribs, I
Yep.
think.
Yeah, his ribs.
And
Tapped out.
yeah, it was, it was crazy. And it was on Sports Center and like
I mean,
all
it,
that
it
stuff.
was a pretty crazy the ending to that fight. I mean, it was almost like what was it, like Pete Sell and
oh my God, how great was that?
Like something like that. It was almost shit like that. It was just something you're just like, what the hell am I watching? Like, this is nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was good. And yeah, that Pete Sell one was classic, man. That was so good. Yeah. It was who was that? Smith and Sell.
Yep. Pete, it was, I know, what was his first name?
Smith. Yeah, it was Smith, right?
Yeah, it was Smith, but what's his
Heavy
first name?
hand. Yeah. Heavy-handed cat. Yeah. But that was a great fight.
It was something like that where it was just like, what the hell did I watch? Like, so it was something like that. I mean, again, it was a great fight, man. And
yeah, we were getting after it. He was my buddy on the TV show. We didn't want our fight, but we kind of had to. And again, he had a great career, and there was a lot of guys on the TV show who had really good careers. And it was a cool show to be a part of. If I was part of any show, it would have been either like 1, 2, or 5.
Okay, yeah, I interviewed. I talked to Cole Miller. Cole Miller was on that was on there as well.
Yeah.
He was a little bit because he was on Jen Spolver's team.
Yeah.
So I got two sides. How was BJ Penn as a coach?
BJ is really big on technique. He's a jiu-jitsu. He's always been an athlete. Mm-hmm. And if there's any knock against BJ, is majority of his career he didn't train. He was always just athletic. He was always good at technique, and that's how he coached. It was really you learned a lot of technical stuff, whereas me, I'm kind of from a wrestling background to where just train.
Mm-hmm.
So I was on the treadmill a lot, and again, BJ, and that's BJ. That's what he does, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by like reality TV, but anything but reality, because you're just getting a coach, that you might not match up with, or his training style might not be the best, and but you just have to deal with it.
Yep. Okay, that's cool.
But as far as like BJ Penn, I've been to Hawaii to train with him before the TV show.
Okay.
And he's an awesome guy. He's like a legend of the sport, and but one thing I kind of noticed about him was he's really technical oriented. He wants to learn moves. He wants to learn, strategies, and training wise, I mean, there's guys who have to train harder and there's guys that don't.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel like I'm one of those guys that my confidence comes from
training,
my preparation.
Yep. I mean, that makes sense though. Again, you said you had that wrestling mentality. It's very, you got to bust your ass. You had to do this. You have to be in the gym for this long. So I understand that completely. Now let's talk about the one of the big trilogies. All right, you got Frankie Edgar, you got Great Maynard. So how was that? I mean, which fight? Obviously, which fight sticks out the most to you? Which one did you feel like you were better prepared? And how did it go? Especially when you guys went, for the most part, man, you guys were giving each other bombs, man. Those were talk about sweat, blood, and tears. I mean that was all you, brother.
The first fight we fought in Colorado, and so we knew he had good cardio, and we trained hard for that one. He was with different coaches at the time, and I remember in round 1 I broke my hand. kind of had an eye injury. He hit me like perfect, like perfect in the eye to where like I couldn't, even for weeks after, like I couldn't see out of that eye, and it was just like, it was crazy. But going back to the corner after like round one,
man,
Couture, yeah, Couture was
on him, man.
Well, no, not that one. The one I beat him in Colorado. And I go back to the corner, and Couture's in my corner, and you know, I'm like, Coach, I can't see. And if they hear that, hey, where's Gio? Okay, can you keep that out here? Okay, all right. You know, and then if they, you know, if the commission hears that, they'll stop the fight, you know. And yeah, and I remember he grabbed my head and he's like, shut up. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, but my hand was broke, and you know, and that was really a high pace, good fight as well. You know, if you guys can go back and kind of check that out, and you know, I was able to implement more of a wrestling game plan, you know, as well. We were still throwing bombs, but you know, just and then afterwards he ended up getting like new coaches, and he really implemented a movement in and out game plan, and
boxing, right? And stand up,
yeah,
a little bit more crisp.
Yeah. And we adjusted to that, and you know, again, I caught him. You know, I had to work harder to get more openings in my boxing. You know, and everybody's like, why didn't you just, you know, take him down? Well, it's a different story when he implements that in and out game plan. It's hard to dial him in, and we kind of knew it would be a little bit more boxing. And yeah, I'm talking about the draw one. Know, the draw. Yeah. And you know, I just had to kind of get more openings, and you know, it came pretty quick. It came in like round one, and you know, I thought it was done. And you get this.
You had him, man. You had him all over the cage. I was like, it was crazy. I never seen someone get tagged so much in a round.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and you look back at that, and it's like this scoring in MMA is weird, just because you have a 10-point must. And you know, in boxing, the way that I can kind of describe it is like, if you've ever watched Juan Manuel Marquez versus Pacquiao, and Pacquiao dropped him 3 times in round one. It ended up being like a 10-7, 10-6 maybe.
Well, yeah. Well, every time. So it's basically they start off 10-10. Every time you drop 1, 10-9.
Right.
Yep. Go ahead.
And not that that's how it has to be in MMA, but you know, the lowest, the highest, you know, I got on that round was a 10-8.
10-8, right?
And I think one person did even a 10-9. I can't remember, but it's like, so if you can't get more than that, then just tell us. Like, there's no such thing as a 10-7, because I've never really seen a 10-7 in,
I don't think so.
You know, MMA.
And if anything, if there was a fight that needed to be a 10-7, it would have been that fight, to be honest with you.
That's what I think. And you know, if I would have got a 10-7, you know, I would have won that one.
Yep.
And you know, and then also, you know, just going back to that, it was one of those where I thought it was all wrapped up, adrenaline going, and just, you know, and he survived. Like, the dude's tough, man. The dude is a beast. And you know, it was closing in on the end of the round, and I realized, like, wow, he's gonna make it through.
Yeah.
And I went back to like I went back to the corner, and like I have never been that drained in my life, and just pins and needles everywhere, just like, oh my God. And then I thought to myself, I was like, I got 4 more rounds. I got to figure this out, you know? And so mentally I kind of pulled back a little bit of round 2, just because, you know, I had to recover.
Yeah,
My body had to recover. And he ended up, he locked up that round. And then round 3, I came back, you know, I locked up that round. Round 4 was him, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then round 5, it was pretty much a toss up, you know, could have been a draw round.
Yeah.
But, you know, the scoring just kind of,
it's questionable.
Yeah, it was definitely questionable, like all the way through, even on that last round, you know, it just, you know, I think that the last round could have been a draw, you know, but then, you know, he won 2 and I won 2. But, you know, I really, kind of, you know, I thought like round 1 was definitely a 10-8, if not a 10-7.
Yeah. Now, when you say like that, where you almost, not that you gasped out, that you, I mean, you were going for the finish. That first round, I mean, you were going, I mean, and the fact that you saw that, you're like, shit, he's gonna survive. Is that almost similar, like almost like for like mental wise, as if like someone that's like you punch someone the hardest you can and they just, not that they shrug it off, but they take it. You're like, shit, that was like, it almost like kind of fucks with you, no? Or not
you
really?
know, I mean, when you go through a lot of good guys, you know, you kind of learn people can take a punch, you know, and not that that's any different, but, you know, he took a lot of good punches. And, you know, I just kind of feel as if, you know, it was just more about recovery. You know, it was just trying to get recovered to do it again. And I was in great shape. And that's when you know you're on point, is you can hit that wall, but recover, right? Okay. Whereas if you're not in good shape, you hit that wall and it's just, it's just all downhill. And that's what, you know, training's all about, is being able to get close to that wall or hit that wall, then pull back a little bit, then recover, you know? So, it's interesting. You know, I really like, you know, coming up with training plans and you know, that's kind of more of my, that's
Your
been
thing
more
with
of
the
my
training camps?
focus, you know, is like just learning about the human anatomy and how it can peak and how it can be the best prepared, you know, it can be, just mentally and physically, you know, like on that night.
Got you. And the last question before I let you go, because I know you're busy and stuff. What would be your favorite fight of all time? Like, you think about it, right? Like, who's your favorite fighter? Who's your favorite fight of all time? You kind of just.
Oh man, my favorite fight of all time.
It's kind of like a little, sorry about that. It kind of threw it
Yeah.
Well, how about this? How about your favorite fight that you really experienced in the UFC? What was your favorite?
Yeah, I mean, all of them have different reasons, and you know, again, it's when I look at like people competing, you know, I like hearing about their training camps. I like hearing about the game plan. Like, one that pops, you know, up is how GSP beat BJ Penn. You know, and he had him on the cage and he wore his arms out to where he wasn't a good boxer. You know, he couldn't box as good. And you know, just those small little details can make me kind of look at you know, it can kind of make it like, oh, now I like that fight because I understand the game plan. Gotcha. You know, I understand the training, and you know, it's hard for me to be like outside, kind of looking in, like this is my favorite fight. This is my favorite guy. Cause my mind's always been competing. And, again, with me, it was always a different story. Each camp was a different story, how I added a new coach or how I added, new training, how I changed up stuff, the game plan, I had to implement. And, it all kind of, it's hard to tell you like, oh, this was the best one.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of different, stories that go along with them.
All right, that's fair enough. I'll leave you with that note. But
again,
thank you again, Gray, for coming and spending some time and talking some fights and your career. Again, stellar career. Always a fan favorite. One of my favorites. I love watching you.
Appreciate that, man.
And I'm glad that you got out and you're good and seemed thrilled. Like Mark Hunt was very happy to leave the UFC. So just But, again, thank you so much for everything, buddy. All right.
Yeah, I appreciate it, brother.
All right, man. Have a good one.